And I feel this tour is a little extra special because it's a family affair.
It is it's my son's not first time being on tour with me, but the first time working and pulling his own weight, and not.
That's really cool. How old is he?
He'll be 27 next month. So
and his band, The Lucky, right?
Yeah, his band is The
opening?
Lucky. They're opening for a few of the shows at the end.
Okay, nice.
But he's the guitar player in my band, my solo band. I've had the same solo band. This is the 20th anniversary of my first solo record, and I've had the same band basically for that long. Wow. The solo guys, they keep coming back, and my guitar player in that band recently just kind of retired from touring, and so Mason took that spot.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it's always a fun. I feel there's a lot of layers to that because you're like, how do I give advice like I would give a guitar player without him being like, okay, Dad.
Oh yeah, no, it's full on. Like one time, him and his band. They wrote a song and they wanted our opinion, and so my music director and I, we made some changes, moved some stuff around, and we did some production, and we sent it back to him, and he redid everything that we did, and like disregarded everything. And I think it took me a while to realize that this is what he's supposed to do, because the truth is, like, whatever knowledge that I've accrued over the last 30 years, most of it is obsolete to him. Especially when it comes to starting off in the business. Like I could explain to him, once you hit your stride, I can explain to you how to handle your stride. But I don't know what it's like to be new today. Like I don't know the tools that you need in your toolbox to, and you know what I'm talking about. Like
yes, for
it's
sure.
a different world out there.
Yeah, we didn't have social media, we didn't have YouTube. It's like
completely.
Yeah.
So it's like I realized that he's in very many ways he's on his own with this when it comes to like how do you navigate the beginning of this journey.
My son is not an adult. He's 11, but he just did stand-up in his 5th grade talent show.
Oh my gosh.
Which, look, I hate to say it. I'm not saying this as a mom. I'm saying this objectively. He crushed.
Yeah.
Which was like both great and I was like, oh no.
But how did you feel when he dropped all those F-bombs?
But the funny thing is like again, your son's like an actual professional, but my son sat down and wrote all these jokes. And then he's like, what do you think? And it was so hard as a parent because I was like, well, if he just, in terms of human growth and if he wants to learn how to do this, like he has to know what it feels like.
Yeah.
He has to have the experience of some of these hit, some of these didn't. Cause like,
did you let him know like some of this you could do better?
I think I gave him my opinion one time, but also I was like, well, which ones do you want to tell? And he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. He had a joke about the cafeteria food being bad. He's like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I was like, great, very ethical.
Okay, good.
But a couple of them, he's like, I really like this joke. And I knew the professional part of my brain was like, that's going to bomb. That's not going to hit.
Yeah.
But I was like, but he has to grow and figure that out on
Also
his
know
own.
your audience. That bit about cookies killed.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if you have the same thing where you're like, I could tell my son this or that won't work, or I could let him find out on his own that he doesn't work and have the visceral experience of it not working, and then he'll learn that way.
I think the farthest in criticism that I've gone is, at some point they were a band and they changed their name and they weren't really making records because they don't. They make singles and they put out videos and they but at some point I was just honest enough in my from my opinion to say I think right now you just don't have the song. Mm-hmm. I was like, you guys have good songs. You guys are so good live. You have this, you have this aesthetic musically. All these things are great. I was like, but right now you just don't have the song. I was like, for us, like we had 3 a.m. when we started. That was our song, and then we knew that. Like every band, when we were starting out, we would make like a record every year. Local band records. But every band that I know would take one song and that was on every record they made because they knew eventually if they made a major label release, that song was going to be on it.
That's so interesting.
And I'm curious too, because Jenny was saying earlier as well with her son, she was talking about it in the context of, because he's very good at baseball, but she's like, I want him to play on a team that's more fun because she was opening up like turning passion into career.
Yeah.
It's like the dream, but also makes it hard to still have fun with it. So did you have a talk with your son about that where it's like, okay, this is what you love to do. It gets a lot more serious when you do it professionally. And do you have any tips for still making it fun for even you?
It can't not be fun.
That's okay.
You know what I mean? That part is easy. Honestly, I think I gave my son the worst parenting advice of all time. He went to Berkeley and took it very seriously and got everything out of it that you're supposed to get out of it. And when he moved to LA, I was just like, listen, don't have a backup plan.
That's fair though. Yeah. And hey, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, if you're going to do this, find a way to exist. If not in the world that like in the place that you saw yourself, tangentially be a part of this world. Find something that you can do to be a part of it. But whatever you do, don't start like keeping one toe in another career. Don't start, like, well, let me hedge my bets, because safety is so comforting.
Yeah, health
like-
insurance is really it's
totally
a
true.
siren song that draws. Yeah, for sure. I think that's exactly right.
And
Well, he has health insurance. It's called Dad.